Pam Dunphy, the Assistant Commissioner for Dane County Highway. How many miles of roads you got?
About 525.
525 for just a small little county like Dane. One thing about Pam, her and I go back to college days. We attended UW-Platteville together, so I've known Pam for over 30 years. We've actually had to work on various issues related to both state and county jurisdictions, and when I also did wear my maintenance hat, we worked with something there, but she's been in her position since 1989. A proud graduate of University of Wisconsin-Platteville, registered professional engineer. She's going to talk about county access controls. Please welcome Pam.
Thank you. For those of you who don't know, Dane County is the county that surrounds the city of Madison. We are the second largest in land and population in the state of Wisconsin. We have not done much with our controlled accesses since 1971. We haven't had a reason to. We find that we've got good, I believe, good access control on our rule system. We work well on limiting those accesses and haven't seen a need to add more highways. Most of the new highways that were added is because of additional transfers from the state to the county. They did give us the access control authority, except for those areas, of course, within the corporate limits, and there's always an exception, so we actually do have one in the corporate limits that we maintain the access on Old US Highway 12, the Beltline. Access control permits, obviously can't read this. Our permits range from everything from a simple field entrance, about $75, to a full intersection access, which is around $1,100. These are for controlled and non-controlled. They are online. Unfortunately, we've not been able to upgrade to getting accesses, permits paid for online. We need to work out that wrinkle yet. The permits, as I mentioned, everything from change in use to a field entrance to a new home, also relocations and new accesses. We abide by strict spacing and only one access per parcel, which is really what we stick to on both the controlled and non-controlled access highways. Of course, we're looking at site distance and drainage and adequacy of those driveways for the intended use. One of the large concerns we have in the rural areas is drainage, freeze-thaw during the winter. So that's one of the big things in the western part of the county where we have a lot of topography that we have to be very careful about siting those driveways in those areas. We do have the authority to permit on controlled and non-controlled access highways. About 10 years ago, they did change that on the controlled access highways. The permits used to go to the committee for all approvals. I think they just got tired of seeing them and they changed it. So now the permit only goes to the committee for a variance. The major reason for any variance is agricultural hardship. It's not meaning that the committee hasn't approved variances for other reasons, but that is the predominant reason. What I do with the landowner is basically meet with them, talk about why I can't approve it, and then walk them through that variance process. The committee likes to see a letter, drawings, and any purposes on why that variance is needed. Lessons learned. Like I said, I've been doing this for actually 32 years. I was in Rock County before Dane County. So you do learn stuff as you get through these. We work with the other county departments, zoning, land conservation. We also work early in the process as I review land divisions, plats, or CSMs. We make sure that we're not approving a CSM that you can't get a driveway for. Also at that time we're requiring joint driveways, even non-controlled or controlled. So we're getting right at the beginning during the zoning comments that we make to our department, zoning department, and on the CSM comments. So we don't have an issue later. We also meet with the applicant very early in the process out at the site to make sure that what they're requesting makes sense. It's something that we can work with and try to come up with better ideas for the landowner. We also work with the towns. Our townships in the eastern part have a lot of requirements for land disturbance, land use for non-agricultural reasons. The western towns tend to have more how many joint driveways and how a fire truck can get to that home site. So we want to make sure that we're working with the towns in that respect. Also, we see that the towns and sometimes even the cities and the municipalities where we don't have the access authority likes to bring us in just to say no. Because there might be some political reason that, you know, they might be being pushed, you know, to get that driveway. So they bring us in to say no, which is fine with us. This is something that comes up. I think I have a driveway location I've reviewed at least 5 times. They have this lot, remnant parcel, they can't get a driveway for, and constantly, you know, someone's trying to build a house up on that knoll. So I guess the idea is to keep good records, make sure that, keep those measurements, so you're not out there measuring that site distance over and over again. You all probably have a lot more lessons learned than this, but these are kind of the ones that came to my mind. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Pam? When you mentioned up there with the transportation committee, who makes up the transportation committee as far as being the people that review?
The transportation committee is made up from the county board. So over the years, I've dealt with, you know, some committees that were more apt to give out driveway permits. The recent committee I've been working with, they're not so much. So it really depends on the committee makeup, which I have my committee for 2 years. So it does change frequently.
So the county board, though, these are non-engineers, right? So
correct. We do have some engineers on the county board, but right now I have all non-engineers on the county board, so it's just made up of the elected officials.
So how do you go about, so you have to basically give them that engineering perspective of supporting or non-supporting, is that?
Right, make sure they understand the, you know, the site vision issues if that's the case. Generally it's more than one access per parcel though. So it's really the idea that you can take an access and make it joint and utilize the whole property with that joint access.
And for the people in this room, do you find that you have to train the committee then into what is some of the principles of access management? We learned that this morning, so I was kind of curious.
Yeah, that is the case. And unfortunately, I think the landowners must know when the new committee's coming on board. It seems they get onslaughted right away. So sometimes you're giving out that information when you might have a person requesting a variance at the same meeting because you just couldn't hold off. Because I see variances kind of, like we had 3 or 4 last year in a new committee. Now I haven't seen one for a year. So we don't do a lot of accesses per year though. Since, you know, 2008, we've been in a lull. We probably do about 20 to 25 accesses.
Okay. And for those that aren't familiar with Madison, what are the main highways that come into town? I know you and I discussed a little bit in preparation for this, but kind of describe, if you will, some of the main highways coming in and how you have to keep those controls on them.
Right, so we have University Avenue into Shorewood Boulevard, for example. We have John Nolan Drive into the Nolan Drive area or the Causeway Bridge. Monona Drive we have those are the major ones I can think of off the top of my head. We also have Broadway, which is BW, Old US Highway 12. So what we do with the cities is that they have obviously can improve an access, but we have the geometric improvements. And one thing we really look at is keeping the medians across those accesses so we only have the right in, right out as much as we can. But we do work with those communities to try to restrict the number of accesses. Anything
else? The other thing too is I live in McFarland and you're redoing our road, so when is that going to be done?
Actually, County Trunk Highway MN is the village's lead agency, so I don't know.
Oh.
Question, yeah. Do you have any additional fees for variances or for the staff that go into the reports or anything like that?
No, we don't. That's an interesting idea, but we don't. So once they apply for the permit, that covers everything.
Then you give staff recommendation on what's in the appeal report. In your district, you get pretty good support from your committees or back from staff, or
I,
very a lot.
it varies a lot per committee. Recently, it's fairly good. I think years ago, it might not have been. It really depends on the committee makeup. So what we do is when we submit the information, we give our recommendation. So they have that information prior to the meeting, and then they can contact me if they have any questions.
So she likes that idea a lot, so she's gonna take that back to the
Yes.
committee. You want a variance, you have to pay.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else here in Madison? Downtown parking? All right, thanks, Pat.
Thanks.